Hey, this is George Sawtooth. I'm at the old Park Hill Golf Course. It got shut down in 2018. This golf course was the site of a dairy farm, George Clayton Dairy Farm. He was that very prolific real estate owner here in Denver. And he owned this was once a dairy farm, probably up until 1920. And he's the one that built that, his trust built that orphanage, the Clayton School Orphanage for boys. It's now Clayton Learning Center. But this was a golf course started in 1930 by Robert Shearer. And he ran it till 1971, until his death. He's actually buried in Mount Olivet Cemetery, which is southwest Denver. And yeah, this was prior to this being a golf course. This was a Lowry in the 1920s. This was the Lowry Airfield, and there was a runway which ran west to east, east to west. And in 1927, Charles Lindbergh landed here after his nonstop flight from New York to, I believe, Paris. He stopped by here, and he stopped by to several places to celebrate his accomplishment, and that was here at Lowry Airfield. And then in 1930 it became a golf course. Some very famous people came to this golf course. Bob Hope, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who else? Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer came here. In the year 2000, Tiger Woods held a seminar for 25 kids, teaching them golf, the technique of golf. That was in the year 2000. So this place has a lot of history. Can you imagine Charles Lindbergh coming in for a landing here in the 1920s? It's a shame that it's no longer a golf course. They want to. The George Clayton Trust sold it sometime like in 2021. And now it's owned by some development place. They want to develop it into housing and mixed development. I don't think that's a very good idea. I'd rather see it an open space. A lot of Denverites want to keep it as either a golf course or an open space. I think it'd be cool to be a park. There's a lot of beautiful old trees on this area. I just wanted to show you George Clayton's old dairy farm, which became a golf course. They shut it down in 2018. It's still zoned to be a golf course. Citizens of Denver voted it down to be rezoned to be developed, which I wouldn't want to see it be developed. I wish it would just stay a park. And obviously they don't water anymore, so a lot of the trees are dying, unfortunately. In this Colorado climate, you know, if you don't water trees, they'll die. Even older trees will die. Bing Crosby was the other guy I was thinking of. Bing Crosby was here, played golf. And that Robert Shearer actually had an annual golf tournament, and you could win quite a bit of money. It was something like $100,000 for a few years, and I guess the golf commission shut it down in the 1950s. I'm not sure why. Maybe it got to be too wild or something. Who knows? Yeah, but Robert Shearer, the guy who developed this land, he leased it from the George Clayton Trust, and then he developed this golf course, and he died in 1971. And that's when this golf course went through several ownerships as well. And then over here is this is Park Hill Golf Course. Over here is Park Hill neighborhood, and this is the northern part, and then there's a middle part, and then there's a southern part that goes all the way to Colfax. And I have another video of an other old orphanage that was started in the 1870s by Margaret Evans. And that was basically for, you know, people who couldn't afford to keep their kid. A lot of them had tuberculosis, and the parents had tuberculosis, so they stayed at National Jewish, which is known as a tuberculosis hospital back then. And while the kids stayed in the orphanage. But this Park Hill neighborhood, I want to tell you a story about this. This had a lot of interesting history too. It was developed by Baron Alois Guillaume Eugene von Winkler. He built a mansion. He built Denver's first dog pound. He built a racetrack for horses. They said he was not a very, he didn't like neighbors too much, which is kind of strange. He developed a neighborhood, but he didn't like his neighbors too much. But he did like the guy who took care of the dog pound. He really liked that guy. He became really good friends with that guy. And it's a very upscale neighborhood. It was really sought after in the 1900s, early 1900s, up into the 1920s. It probably, I think it still is. Park Hill neighborhood. The developer, Von Winkler, he actually committed suicide in 1898. He committed suicide by taking strychnine, and they said he had a gun as well. So I don't know if strychnine is kind of a painful death, and maybe his muscles were spasming and he was in a lot of pain. Maybe he ended it more quickly. I think it takes like a couple hours to die from strychnine. No trespassing. Park Hill Golf Club. This is a nice part of Park Hill neighborhood, but as you go south, I think it gets a little bit better. The architecture of the houses are just amazing. Each house is different. Not like today's houses. All our houses are all cookie cutter. For example, those over there, they're all cookie cutter houses. But a lot of these houses were so different. Individual houses. And like I said, as you drive farther south, the houses become larger. They become more grand. They become more beautiful. That neighborhood started 1870s through the 1880s. A lot of the houses are very old. They were still building, I think, clear up into the 1920s. A lot of history around here. I believe Dahlia Street's right up there. But yeah, it's very beautiful. This is the old golf course. A lot of history. Can you believe Charles Lindbergh landed over here in the 1920s, 1927. All right, take care, guys. God bless.